Are you frustrated with online dating? Confused by all the new apps and fancy dating sites? Do you find yourself choosing the wrong person again and again? Well, studies show that hiring a dating coach can maximize your online dating experience. So no worries, I've got you. And I've created a virtual course called Doing Dating Right. It's a 5-video series that you can complete at your own pace in your own space, right at home. How to write your online dating bio, pick that perfect picture, and so much more. Want more info? Go to my website at jenniferhurwitz.com. Again, it's jenniferhurwitz.com. Good morning. Good morning. This is Doing Relationships Right, and I'm Jennifer Hurwitz. I'm your host every Tuesday and every Friday for a Just Jen episode. Welcome back to the new year. It's 2022. I hope it's better than 2021, I got to tell you. Okay, I've got the best topic today. I always say this. I'm like, I have the best topic, I have the best guest, but I do. I have a great topic. I have a great guest. And oftentimes I say that Doing Relationships Right, we talk about relationships, we talk about all these great things, but I think one of the most the best things that we could talk about relationship-wise is the relationship we have with our children, which always gets me all sad and, gooey, ooey, mushy inside. And so today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the relationships we have with our kids. And I have an amazing guest. I have Kimball Lewis. I said it right.
Yes.
I have Kimball Lewis in the house. Yay. He is the CEO of empoweringparents.com, right?
Exactly. Yes.
I did. Hi, Kimball. How are you? Welcome.
Hi, Jennifer.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It took us a long time to get this coordinated, but I'm so happy because this is one of my favorite topics is that when your kids are having a hard time and a tough time, what do we do? What do we do with our children when they just are defiant and don't listen to us and we go crazy? So I'm going to stop talking because my listeners are like, Jennifer, we've had enough of you. And please tell us a little bit about yourself, how this all started, where it began, and let's talk.
Okay. So I've been with Empowering Parents for 6 years now.
Okay.
And what we do is people who find us, the way they find us is they're at their wits' end with their kids. Typically adolescents, but it's anywhere from age 5 to 25 is where we cover. But you've just had it and you Google something like I can't stand my child, or I'm constantly fighting. What do I do with my child? And that's how they find us. And we have a website called empoweringparents.com. We have hundreds of free articles about what's effective parenting when you're dealing with kids who are defiant, who are acting out all the time, and you're not having a good relationship because you're fighting all the time. And we also offer a program. So when you come to our site, we have a program you can sign up, and it's about an 8-week course, self-paced online, and it's called the Total Transformation Program.
Right. Tell us about that.
And the Total Transformation Program is a comprehensive program, end to end, telling you exactly why your kid's acting out and what you can do about it. What are the effective parenting strategies, the ineffective parenting strategies, and it's a complete program for how you transform the way you relate to a child who's acting out constantly and has behavior issues. And when you apply these things, we see incredible results. And it happens very quickly, actually. Like the child knows something's different from the get-go, that something's changed. And it really it improves the relationship with your child, everything. You're not fighting all the time. And it's a comprehensive approach. And it was put together by a child behavior specialist, James Lehman, in like the late 2000s. And he had this very, very popular program late 2000s. And at the peak of his popularity, he passed away. And that was back when you would get the content on books and DVDs and that kind of thing. So I have a technology background. I've got teenage kids. I knew James Lehman. Like I had a connection. I had a connection to this whole thing.
Okay.
And about 6 years ago, the program was like, it was being marketed on radio. No one listens to radio anymore. They do podcasts, they do whatever. And it was books and DVDs. People don't have DVD players anymore. So I have a technology background. I have an interest in child development. I had teenage kids. So I came in and I've made this program accessible online, streaming.
Fantastic.
And it's a fantastic program. I've used the program. It all makes sense. It's when you hear the advice, it seems obvious, but it's not when you're in the heart of a battle with your child.
Right.
And having someone point out like what you're doing's not effective. This would be more effective in this situation. You get it, and then you have much more.
I think we need the tools as parents. We're so in the moment and we don't know what to do. We like throw our hands up and it's just volatile and we're screaming and we're yelling. And then I think if we had tools like this, we everything would be better. Our homes, everything.
And it is tools. So one
Oh, I
thing
love
about
that.
James Lehman, what I love about James Lehman is he was one of these kids. He was an
Oh, that makes
oppositional,
sense.
defiant kid. He was in and out of jails when he was in his late teens and early 20s. And when he was about 25, he went in front of a judge, and the judge said, "You're either going to jail for a very long time this time, or you're going to go into this accountability-based program, and if you graduate successfully, you won't get a prison sentence."
Interesting.
And he
Interesting.
went, and at age 25, he went into this program, and it turned his life around.
Wow.
And it's
Okay, so
kind of the foundation for what he does.
amazing. Can you tell us a couple little things that are different about or just do you mind giving us a little couple details about it? Or
Of
of the
tips.
program? Yeah, a couple tips. I mean, don't give it all away. Don't give your 1 through 8 best
No, I
tips,
can,
but
I can, I can. I'm happy to talk about this because
okay,
it's
awesome.
one of those things where you get it in bits and pieces.
Yeah,
It's helpful, but what you really need is the
the whole
comprehensive. It's like
program.
taking a class. Like
Right.
taking a class is very different than reading a couple articles here and there
Agree.
about stuff. So you
Absolutely.
kind of get it from beginning to end. And the program, it teaches you why your kids act out.
I
And
see. I think that's important. I think it's important to know the why. A lot of times you get on these art, you read these articles and they're like, "This is what you do. This is what the right way. Put them in timeout." But you don't know why they're acting out. What the behind of this, the motivation is, and
yeah,
then it doesn't make sense,
and
right? So,
fundamentally, his James Lehman's approach, and he knew this because he went through this, is that the kids are acting out because it's a problem solving tool for them.
right.
And the problems they're having are things that we don't necessarily think of as problems, but when you're a child, if you can remember back to childhood, like the first time you start experiencing anxiety, frustration, how do you put down electronics or something you want to do to
Oh,
meet a responsibility? We call those functional skills.
sure.
Like how do you learn to do that's a problem to be solved? Like how do you self-discipline yourself a little bit?
Right.
And the way kids solve that problem is often by acting out. And
Right.
I'll give you an example. So it's a problem
Please.
solving. The acting out and the arguing is a problem solving skill. It's not a good one. It's not one that you want to bring into adulthood, but it actually works for the kids.
Okay.
And one example we use a lot is if your kid has chores he's supposed to do, and they're not doing the chores, and you're coming home from work, and you're tired, it's the end of the day. Do you really want another fight with your child about what they were supposed to
No.
have done
No.
when they got home?
No.
And you say to yourself, you know what? It's going to be easier if I just do it myself,
That's what I used to do.
right? And skip the argument. So
Absolutely.
so
That's
so
right.
from the child's point of view, the arguing worked. Like fighting
Exactly.
back
That's what I'm
worked.
just
It was
gonna
a
say.
problem solving skill that worked.
Exactly.
Or you're fighting over homework. At some point, the parents throw their arms up. I just can't, like,
No, that's it. I'm done.
and they. So what you want to do is uh, you want to make sure that those problem solving skills don't work anymore.
Oh, okay,
So you want to make sure that the acting out and the arguing and the fighting doesn't solve their problem.
right.
They'll still do it, but it doesn't solve their problems. They don't get what they want, and
Right.
and you do that through consequences. So if you don't do your chores, there's a consequence,
I love that. I love consequences. That's
right?
how
So
with my boys. So I
yeah,
probably
like
do.
you
I
lose your
love it.
phone, you lose some privilege,
Absolutely.
you
Right.
lose something. Parents have more control than they realize. Sometimes they feel like they have no control, but they actually have the purse strings. Most of
Yeah.
these kids don't have financial ability to
Right.
do much.
I love the consequence. That's my favorite thing. I
And
also
and the
like giving choices. Is choices a bad thing? Like you have two choices. You can
No,
either do this or you can
choices
do
are
this.
fine, but but
Love
but
it. Okay.
consequences, you should be smart about it. You should be
Sure.
thoughtful
Oh
about it.
yeah.
It's not a punishment.
Right.
And some of the tips in the program are like you want them task oriented if you can. So
Okay.
so for like a chore example or something, you lose electronics until you finish your chores,
Yes, that makes
and
sense to me.
and then they finish the chore and they eventually get it back. They might wait a day or 2 days, whatever it's going to take. Then they eventually get it back, and they'll grudgingly do it.
Right. But they
Um,
do it because they know that they're going to get their, X, Y, or Z back.
right.
But then there's parents who say, you're not going to have your iPad for a week, and then it just everyone's suffering.
Yeah, that's
Because
just we just call that doing time, and you
right,
don't you actually don't want your child to get good at doing time.
right, right,
So these
exactly.
these over the top consequences don't work.
They
Like
do
a
not
week,
work.
taking something away for a month, like
Oh
long-term
my gosh,
grounding
why do people do that? Do
is
they think it's just success? They think they don't know. They just think that's the way it's going to work
um
because they don't have your program. That's why.
yeah, they don't. And they
That's
don't realize it's just not effective.
okay.
So not many parents who ground their kids for a month, like it doesn't work in the end.
Mm-mm.
First of all, they usually don't keep up with the
Right.
punishment, and if they do, they would have created so much animosity between their child that it really hurts the relationship.
Mm,
So we point out to parents this is a learning process for the child. They don't have good problem solving skills. They don't have the ability to self regulate to get things done, and you should
right.
expect that it's going to take a little bit of time for them to develop those skills. So you apply the consequences, and then they meet the consequences. So they get whatever, they're back to normal again,
Right.
and then they do the same thing again. But that's to be expected.
Yeah.
You apply the consequence again. They do it again. You apply the consequence. As long as you're consistent over time, the child will learn.
Yes.
And
Consistency.
and if we have coaching too. So when you come to our website and you sign up for the program, you can sign up with one of our coaches, and
That's amazing.
you can talk to the phone on our coach or send messages back and forth. And what we like to say is when you come to us, usually you're having so many problems that's not the first time it happened. It's happened 10 times.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's actually an advantage. So it's happened 10 times. Now you can prepare for the next time it happens and have a
Right.
plan in place, and you can do it much more calmly, and you can apply your plan for a week or two, see how it's working, and then and do an adjustment.
Okay.
And
So go
remember, it
back to
takes
this.
time for the
I'm
kid
sorry.
to takes
To get
time.
to right.
Yeah,
Right.
they're learning new ways to solve the problem. And a big part of the program is offering your child, when things are calm,
Right.
alternative behavior skills. So let's say you have a sibling problem where one child's hitting the other child.
Hmm.
When things are calm, you need to offer your child an alternative when you get frustrated with your sister. Instead of hitting her, here's what do instead. Come see me, walk away from the situation. We don't hit in this household, so you need to find something else to do, and I'll help you with that. Here's what you can do instead.
Right. And,
So it's
and in the moment, they're gonna. You can't do anything in the moment. It's too much. You have
in
to
the
do it in
moment
the
it's too much.
too
Yes.
much. Right. It's
And you
kind
don't
of
want to
like a
make up consequences in the moment. You want to be
no.
thoughtful about it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's another big thing. Like when everything's heated and you're yelling and screaming at each other, and then you're like, "You can't have your iPad for 3 weeks," and you're like, "Oh, I wish I would have never
that
done that because right,
yeah.
it doesn't work." Wait, but go back for me, Kimball, to one thing we were talking about when you come home from work and the homework's not done, and I think I interrupted you because that's my jam. But what did you were giving an example, and I don't think we covered it. Remember, you said you were coming home when you come home from work and your kids are not doing their homework.
Oh, well, you end up doing whatever it is they were supposed to be doing. You do it
Yeah.
instead because it's
Oh,
easier.
that's what it was. Okay,
You're
good. I
not in
didn't
the
miss it.
mood. You're not in the mood for the fight. You're not in the mood
Right.
for all that stuff.
Okay,
So,
good. Okay, I didn't miss it. Okay, because sometimes my listeners are like, Jennifer, you
yeah.
cut them off, and then I didn't get the answer.
So the solution is you have some planned out consequences, and
Okay,
you calmly apply those consequences, and then let the consequences work. It's not like it's going to happen immediately. You have to let them work,
you
and
know what?
do some adjustments, and you work with our coaches, and
Yeah, I love that.
most kids, the vast majority of kids, they can turn this around.
And you know what I like about this program too is that I think like you need to be patient. I love that you take your time and that the kids need to consistency. I think a lot of parents, I don't want to say a lot of parents. I think some parents jump so quickly to medication because
Yeah,
they think that they can't do anything else and they need to medicate and and trust me, I'm all about if your kid needs medication, please. I mean, both mine and I do, and mental health is very important. But I think this is a great approach to take before that. To say, look, let's try this first. There might be something that we can do before we put them on, Ritalin or whatever, because, parents get so frustrated so easily that they think that it's the only option. So this is a nice
yeah.
alternative.
There's a lot you can do by being more effective about your parenting, and you
Absolutely.
want to be you want to be more effective most of the time. No one's perfect.
Oh, no.
Like we say that if yelling worked, parenting would be easy. You just yell at your kid and they would get better.
Yep.
So we advocate, like, don't, like, getting in a screaming match is not effective. It doesn't
No,
work.
no.
So don't do it. It
But it's
actually
so
makes
hard not
things.
to sometimes,
I
Kimball. It's so
know.
hard
So
not to.
so we say it's not effective, so don't do it. But then we also will say at the same time, but give yourself some grace. Forgive yourself if you
Yes.
if you lose it once in a while. Just know that it's not effective and do it less often.
Right. And it's also nice when you have kids that aren't screamers and yellers. Like I'm really impulsive and I'm like just animated myself, right? So I'm like a real high energy mom. So and my boys are not. They're chill like their dad, my
Yeah.
husband. So when I get all animated, they go pineapple.
What does
It's our
pineapple mean?
it's our safe word. It's
Oh,
our
that's a
safe
safe.
word.
Okay.
So they're like pineapple mom, and I'm like, oh, okay, okay. Like they're like chill out, mom. So it's funny that they know that like how I,
That's actually
how
a
I,
good technique when you have
yeah,
when you have a child who has, like, hyperactivity issues or
yeah,
whatever. They get, like, you have like secret words where you remind them,
yes.
especially when they're in group setting with other kids, and they're
That's what I do. Right.
and the kids might be annoying other kids. They don't realize it.
That's
The
well, my
parent can
son.
say something unembarrassing, some kind of secret word,
Right.
like you need to, like, relax,
Right. Well,
calm
my
down a little
son
bit.
is ASD. he was on this. Well, we say he was on the spectrum. We say he fell off in 5th grade. It's so
There you go.
funny. But
Yeah.
so we used to do things like we'd do an ear tap, or I'd do a nose. When he wasn't making eye contact, I'd do a nose touch so that he
Yeah.
knew to make. So we have all kinds of signals. But I think that's amazing. And
And we all have
some,
things to work on. I explain that to
yeah.
my kids all the time. It's not there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with everyone. Like
Oh my God,
we all
right?
have things to work on.
Absolutely. I mean, if we didn't
So
have things to work on, we'd be perfect. We wouldn't need anybody.
yeah,
Like what fun
exactly.
is that? What fun is that? I'm like, I need to. And also, I think that there are teachable moments in all of these situations, right?
Yeah.
And I know that going to my boys sometimes and saying, guys, I screwed up. I really did, and I'm sorry that I holding myself accountable. I screamed and I said things that I shouldn't have said, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what we call modeling. That's excellent. You want to
oh,
do that.
oh, great, great. See, look at that.
You want to
I'm
model behaviors, you get show them how it's done.
right. And
And then it's yeah.
yeah, I think that's awesome. So, okay, so where do we, first of all, so this program is a 6 or 8 week, eight.
Well, it's 8 units for the total. We have some other programs too, but the
Oh,
core of all of this is the total transformation program,
okay,
and there are 8 units to it, and we suggest you take about a week per unit. You got
okay,
to let this stuff
sink in.
sink in, and you can start. It starts giving you tools to apply immediately. So there's some things that you can start applying immediately.
Okay.
You don't have to wait through 8 weeks before you can start
And do
applying
the
it.
kids
So
do it with you, or no? It's just for
nope,
parents.
this is for parents.
Oh, so the kids don't even know you're doing
You
it.
can
It's
tell the
stealth.
parents. You can tell the kids you're doing it. You can tell look things are changing around here,
I love it.
which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, and it's for ages 5 to like.
5 to 25.
Oh my! You're kidding.
So underage 5,
Yeah, they're
kids
not.
are like they don't understand the consequences. Like
Mm-mm.
they just don't. It doesn't work. It's different for under 5. But once they're about 5, they kind of start understanding stuff. It's fine. Most of our parents who come to us have adolescents.
Yeah.
Like your kid's perfect and they hit 7th grade and suddenly they're like
Oh, right. What is
eighth
that? Is it
grade.
hormones? What is
Yeah,
it?
I think so. And you know what? Life gets more complicated. So life was
Okay.
simple, and then suddenly you get homework, you have responsibilities, you have social pressures, all of these which require problem solving skills. So now you're dealing with anxiety, you're dealing with frustrations, you're dealing with I don't understand the math homework. You're dealing with all that stuff that you've never dealt with before. And some kids kind of figure it out and some kids have more difficult figuring it out. And every kid's a little different. So
If co parenting during a pandemic taught us anything, it's that you need proof your kids are safe. With alcohol abuse on the rise, many co parents are turning to the no nonsense system committed to providing proof, protection, and peace of mind. Soberlink's alcohol monitoring system is the most convenient, reliable, and reasonable way for a parent to provide evidence that they are not drinking during parenting time. Soberlink's real-time alerts make it easy to negotiate with any party. Judges rest assured that the child is safe. Attorneys get court-admissible evidence of sobriety, and both parents have empowerment and peace of mind. Do divorce right and trust the experts in remote alcohol monitoring technology to keep your kids safe, happy, and well-adjusted. To download the guide, 5 non-negotiables for embracing a new normal that I developed with Soberlink, visit www.soberlink.com/DRR. I have to ask your opinion on something, Kimball, if you don't mind. How do you feel about social media in general?
in general,
It's the word. I mean, like for kids, right?
it's just dangerous.
I know, I can't, I don't know what, it's
But you know, for
really,
some kids it's fine.
right.
But I don't know. It's hard. My kids have been on it, but they're not. It wasn't a big part of their lives.
I know, mine either.
You
They were
know, if
like,
it's
it's
affecting
okay.
your child's life, like it's okay to like say like just get out of that world.
Yeah. It is very,
So
I don't know if it's like a girl thing, boy thing, or if it's like, I
feels
feel
like
like
it's more of a girl thing,
I
isn't?
think
I
so
don't know.
too. I
I
feel like
think
the
so.
girls are just so, the bullying and oh, I
The
just,
mean
the
girls, right?
mean girl thing, right?
Yeah.
I just think, oh my God. Okay, I have some questions. Can I ask questions for you?
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm reading I got some, look, I'm taking notes and
Okay.
I'm interested in this. Okay, so there's, I'm not going to give away all your total transformation stuff because that would be bad because I want people to
That's
go
fine.
to
We
your,
couldn't possibly cover anything at all anyway. But anyway, go ahead.
okay, good.
Go
There's
ahead.
too much. Okay, so you talk about something called the Y trap.
Yeah, exactly.
The Y trap. What, can you explain that a little bit or
So
no?
if you've ever been in couples therapy,
Yes, I love it. That's what I do for,
communication issues is a big part of couples therapy. Like communicate, we have a communication problem. That's a
right.
huge problem.
That's what I do.
What
Right.
what they don't tell you is that a lot of times your problem with your child is a communication problem, just like it is with any relationship. And the
Yes.
way we talk to our kids matters, especially when you have a child who's difficult. Some kids are just harder than others,
I
right?
love
So
it. Yes.
we
Yes.
talk about that. Like we say, don't blame yourself for your child's behavior. Like your
Okay.
child, every child's different,
Right.
and if you're to blame for your child's, like your child should be accountable for the behavior, not you.
Love it.
And that's
I
what you want
love
to do. You
that.
want to keep the accountability on your child, even if you're like you're doing some ineffective stuff as a parent or whatever. It's your child acting out and abusing and potentially hurting other people. That's their responsibility. They need to be accountable for that, not you. So don't hold yourself accountable for your child's behavior. Hold your child accountable for their
Sure.
behavior.
Oh, that makes sense.
Um, but likewise, we need to we need to communicate effectively with our kids, and one of them is the why trap. And we point this out to parents. The way you talk to your child matters, in particular when you have a child who has behavior and defiance issues. So that's a big setup. But here's what happens all the time. You walk into your kid's room, and they're playing electronics, and it's homework time. They're not supposed to do electronics until homework's done. They're doing electronics.
Okay.
And the first thing the parent says is, "Why are you doing electronics?" And then you stand there and you wait. What you've done is you've just asked your child, provide me with an excuse as to why you're doing electronics.
Oh my God, you're so right.
And you're waiting for them to give you an excuse back by even saying that. So we say the communication matters. Don't ask them why are they doing it. Walk into the room and say, you know you're not supposed to be doing electronics, put it down and go do X.
Absolutely.
And if they're confused about what they're supposed to be doing, then you have a conversation about what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
But so often the very first word that come out of the parent's mouth is, why are you doing X?
Right.
And then
You're
you
so
wait.
right about that.
You sit there and wait.
Right. And then they're in their head going, okay, what am I going to say to get out of this? You're
Right. And
right.
they come up with an excuse, or maybe
Of
they don't
course
know
they do.
why. Yeah, and the point is they don't know why. They just know they're avoiding something they don't want to do, but
Exactly.
they're not sophisticated enough to say,
No.
well, the reason I'm doing electronics is that I'm only 12. I don't have good functional problem solving skills
Poor
yet.
babies. Poor babies.
And you know what I mean? And I studied James Lehman, and I know that X. They don't know that. They just know they don't feel like
Right.
doing their homework, and they're doing
Right.
electronics instead because doing the homework makes them feel anxious. They don't want.
Okay.
They
I have
just
a
don't
question.
want
I
to
have a
do it.
question
So
though. Okay. So you say the kid needs to take accountability, but what about this scenario? What if your kid is at 2 o'clock in the morning on their iPad and who's, who's, whose issue is that? Like, is it the parent that should have known better not to let the kid have the electronics in their bedroom at night? Or is it the kid who, did you see what I'm saying?
well, I mean, if it's not,
And the
we
kid's
tell
10 years
parents,
old. Let's say the kid's
we
10
actually
years
tell
old. I mean,
parents to put the basic rules of the household on the refrigerator, and there should be like 10
I
of them. One is
love
like,
it.
we
I
don't
love
swear at
it.
each other. In this household, we don't swear at each other.
I love
In this
it.
household, we don't call names. We don't punch walls. We don't break stuff, and no electronics,
In the bedroom after
in the
10.
bedroom or whatever. So they know what the rules are. So you hold your child accountable for those rules.
I see. That makes sense.
In our household, because everyone struggles with electronics.
Right. I think
In our
everyone, I mean,
household, the bedrooms are upstairs. The
mine too.
electronics and the phones come downstairs at a
That's what
certain
we do.
time,
That's what we
and
do.
they remain down there. They're supposed to be down there. That just helps the child
Set
not.
boundaries.
Yeah, helps sets boundaries. Actually, for adults, it's useful to put your phone away sometimes and put it away so you can these are just effective problem solving skills.
Okay. So let's say that
So
you've set the boundaries and the kid knows that the rule is there's no electronics in the bedroom. And the mom walks in at 2 in the morning and he's on his iPad. That's what you're talking about. The next step is you don't say why are you, and you walk in the room at 2 o'clock.
yeah, you say
Now why are
you're not supposed to be on your iPad,
right? Okay, gotcha.
and then you can actually let a natural consequence take place, which is they're going to be tired at school the next day,
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Right,
right? And
right,
and and you can explain to them the next day the reason you're tired is that you were up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
right, right,
And if you don't want to feel crappy during the day, then you should go to bed earlier. Like you have the ability to learn from what just happened here.
right.
But as a parent, the effective thing to do is to keep the electronics out of the room. Electronics in the room is a huge problem.
Huge.
If you have a child that is self-disciplined and gets good grades, fine, let them have their electronics in their room. They're managing their life fine as is. But if they're having a problem, get the electronics out of the room.
Yeah, I think
In
it
fact,
messes up
in
with
fact,
sleep too.
homework. The bedroom is a bad place for homework. If you're having a child who's studying with their grades, the best place to do homework is in a public place. And I say public, I mean at the kitchen table,
Yeah, that's what we do.
somewhere
Kitchen table.
where you can kind of keep an eye on them and keep them accountable.
Yeah, because a lot of kids, if the phone is even next to them and they're upstairs in the bedroom, they're not going. Homework isn't going to. They're going to go to their phone or they're going to go to
Yeah,
their electronics. But if they're downstairs in the kitchen, the phone is on the counter and they're at the kitchen table, they're going to focus on there.
yeah, and
And I
that's
feel
part of the
like
problem solving skills. You teach your child this is how you learn to function appropriately, so you get your electronics away from you.
yeah, it's hard for them. Their
So
little brains don't.
Yeah,
It's hard.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, this has been so great. I mean, I
So,
don't want to keep you all day, but okay. So give me, if there are any little nuggets that you think, before we go, or what do you
all right.
think,
So
anything
one
else I
thing
need to know?
I always like to say this to parents
Please.
is because this is just uh, it's very important, and it's not a particular behavior skill issue, but it's for parents out there that are really struggling with their kids. Do not take your child's behavior personally.
Mm.
Okay, so if you're one of our best articles is I hate you, mom. I wish you were dead. And there's another
Oh, I get
version of that which is
chills.
F you, mom. And it's the child saying horrible things to their parents. And we tell the parents, look, they're having behavior problems. Look at it as not as a moral issue, is that they're having a behavior problem and it's fixable. And
Absolutely.
you can help them work on it and don't take it personally. When you take it personally, you end up getting in screaming fights and fights with them, which is not effective. And when the child when you go through these programs, the child improves. If you didn't take it personally, it's so much easier to offer your child grace and forgiveness, and you can move on and have a good relationship at that point. But don't take their screaming and swearing at you and saying terrible things to you personally. Just view it as a behavior issue that they can improve on and get better at.
I love
And
that.
then forgive them for what they've done, because we've all said things that we regret saying. Maybe we meant it in the moment, but like it's not, you need to move on from that. So if you can offer your child grace, don't take their behavior personally. View it as a behavior problem. Things will go much better for you.
My mom used to always say that when my kids, or when we used to act out, or we used to be really defiant or angry, that was a cue that we needed more love, to give us
Yes.
more attention and more love. Because so when my kids were younger, even, and I saw them getting stressed or angry, even now, I'll just go to them and be like, I know something's up. Give
Yep.
me, let's mush up, like, and I give them a minute. And then I
Yeah.
just know that, like, when they're screaming at me, there's definitely something going on.
Yep. And you
There's
want
something
and you
going
want
on.
you want to do these effective things to get control of your child's behavior,
Yeah.
because it's like, I can be honest, it's hard to like a child
Oh my God.
who doesn't behave well. And you want to
Right.
like your child, like it's just a difficult place to be, and you start becoming resentful
Yeah,
for
you
it.
do.
So
Yeah.
so going through these programs and learning what's effective, not effective, and doing your best to get control over the situation, you owe it to your child, you owe it to your relationship. It just makes things much better.
Yeah,
It's
you don't want to
important.
hate each other. One more
Yeah.
question for you. So, what about the kid that this is always my mom? My mom used to say, like, what about the kid who's perfect outside of the house? Everyone's like, "Oh my God, your kid is the best. We love having Jonah over at his house." And blah blah blah. And then at home, they're like the worst. You can't believe it's, right. The roof is flying off the house. They're like, is that the kid that's a is that
Yeah,
everyone's
those
like,
those are that's the good news, because that's actually good news, because
right?
it's the total transformation program will shows parents how to regain your authority, and actually improves the relationship when there's a clear, the parents in charge. Basically, like, you can't have the child in charge of the household. It doesn't
No,
work.
no.
So that's actually a good sign, because
Okay, good.
those are the most easily solvable
Phew.
cases.
Okay, good.
It's more when you have what we call oppositional
Right,
defiance
right,
disorder. It's more challenging. It's treatable. Like, there's a lot you can do, but it's more challenging when your child is not just defiant with you, but they're defiant with their teachers,
right.
other adults, the police. When they're
Oh,
defiant with everyone, there's a good chance they have this oppositional
yes, that's what I'm
defiant
talking.
issue. And the treatment for that and we have a program called the ODD Lifeline.
Oh,
The,
great.
the treatment for that is a little bit different.
Right, of course. That's what I'm
Um,
going. I was kind of going there.
but most of the time, if your child's behavior problem is at home and with you, and not so much in school, then that's good news. And the
That's
reason they're not
manageable.
acting out in school is because probably they get in trouble,
Yeah,
and their teachers aren't going to put up with it, and they're going to have more problems or whatever. But at home, they have they,
they feel
they
safe.
often have the upper hand.
Yeah, they feel like it's a safe place to be a little
They
bit
do,
of
because
a.
kids don't have much power, but they certainly have power over their parents.
They should,
Right? They're not in
I know.
charge at school. They're not in charge at work. They're not in charge anywhere. But at home, oftentimes they're in charge.
Yeah, and you know what? We're
So
going to call you, Kimball. We're going to call. I'm
yeah,
telling you, this has been amazing, and I feel like it's a positive. This is positive, and it's uplifting, and parents have hope. I
there
feel
is
like
so much
after
hope.
so
Yes.
much hope,
Yep.
and if you have a child that is having a rough time, this has been awesome. So, Kimball, where can we find you? Your website
So
is
empoweringparents.com.
perfect.
And our name is Empowering Parents. James Lehman is empowering parents with the tools that he had working with. So the end of the story was after James Lehman went through this program, he went and got his master's in social work, went to Fordham, Boston University, and then spent a career working in group homes with troubled kids who have behavior problems,
Isn't that awesome?
and worked successfully with them. So empowering parents, we empower parents with tools that people like James Lehman have working with defiant kids. So
I
it's
love it.
empoweringparents.com. You can come and read our articles, sign up for our newsletter,
Okay.
and you can sign up for the Total Transformation Program. It streams online, so you can start it immediately. And you
Awesome.
can sign up for coaching. We have coaches ready you can sign up for a phone call.
Perfect. And so let's start off the new year by getting your kids ready for this and, everyone positive, and I just love it. So everything's going to be in the show notes. So just so you know, if you are looking, listener, for all the information, check out my show notes. And Kimball, it was a pleasure having you. An
Thank you,
absolute
Jennifer.
pleasure. I just loved it. Thank you so much. And all this great information. And I love talking about kids because, we all love our kids. And I think it's really super important. So doing relationships right today was all about doing a great relationship, having a great relationship with your child. So thank you, thank you. And everybody do something great for yourself today. Get out there and I don't know. It's snowing and cold, and oh my gosh, wear your masks, please, and get a booster and take care of yourself and be healthy. And that's it. And see you next week on Doing Relationships Right. I'm Jennifer Hurwitz, and peace, love, and so much truth. Have a great day.